Hi everyone, my name's Sophie. I work for Star Academies, a multi-academy trust with schools across the country. I'm not a teacher, but I'm privileged to work with teachers and school leaders as part of my job. I am a mum, and as the weeks go on, the novelty of this situation is wearing off, and I am increasingly grateful that there are places to turn for ideas and support. To accompany our home learning advice line, StarLine, we are hosting a weekly broadcast with a range of guests to cover different ideas to help you keep your kids learning and happy. Our guest this week is Matt Buttery, CEO at Triple P Parenting UK. During the week, which would have been half term, we thought it would be helpful to bring you some thoughts on parenting during lockdown. The Triple P Positive Parenting Programme is a parenting and family support system designed to prevent as well as treat behavioural and emotional problems in children and teenagers. They put together their top 10 tips for parents and carers during coronavirus, and today we're going to discuss a few of these tips alongside the context of some children possibly returning to school from next week. Thanks for joining us, Matt.
Morning, Sophie. Great to be with you.
And could you tell us a bit about why Triple P put together these tips for parenting during coronavirus?
Yeah, I guess the main reason is that what's going on right now is affecting all of us around the world, and it's something that we didn't necessarily have a plan for. As parents, I don't know many parents that had that. Oh, parenting during a pandemic plan. I'll just pull that off my bookshelf, and this is how it's going to go. And so I think what we wanted to do is just use some of the experts that we have to just try and create a shared understanding of some ideas and sort of the range of things we could be doing with our kids right now, that all of us could be doing with our kids right now, and just make them available for free so that people can take as little or as much as they want away from them, and apply them to their own family lives.
Great. And I was looking at those tips, and we're going to share them at the end of the video. But the first two really focused on something that I think is important, which is well-being, with a really high priority at the moment. So they struck me, the first two tips, as being important for this. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, why don't I read them out? So the first one is just reassuring your child that your family is your top priority. And the second one is taking care of yourself the best you can as a parent during this time. And I think the second one really is probably the thing that when most people come to a Triple P program, one of the kind of core principles of Triple P is taking care of yourself as a parent. And it's one of the things that people find most surprising, I think sometimes. It's like, oh, I thought I was here to talk about parenting, and actually I'm here to talk about looking after myself. But I think probably intuitively, we all kind of know that when I'm doing well and when I'm feeling okay and when I'm feeling calm and when I'm feeling like I've got resource, then actually things can go a lot better in the house, particularly if my kids are not feeling that way. Whereas if I'm also being, struggling at the moment, and let's face it, we're during this time, and all of us are experiencing a range of emotions from anxiety to, even anger. If we're feeling like that, then actually I think sometimes it can be really easy for when our kids are feeling that way, for both of us to escalate or otherwise. And actually that isn't helpful to either of us. So I think, taking care of yourself as a parent, finding something that you can do for yourself, whether it just be getting a little bit of me time, cup of tea, connect with some friends, whether it be going for a walk, whether it be doing some exercise, and getting out there, whether it be doing something slightly more than that. I think it's about trying to find some things so we can look after our own mental health and our own emotional well-being during this time. Just being critically important. We're key, as it were, in our households. And then I think the other thing about just reassuring our kids is, I think it's one of those things that I think as parents we kind of think is implicit. It's a bit like, well, I love you and I'm here for you and I'm doing my best to take care of you and I'll do everything I can to protect you. I think we all do that, but I think sometimes it's really useful just to articulate it to our kids, and just to maybe in a quiet moment, just sort of let them know, do you know what? I'm here for you. I love you. You're my top priority. My family is top priority, and right now I'm doing the best I can to make sure that you're safe and that everything's going to be okay. So I think with both of those, as you say, just looking after our own well-being and also starting to think about how our kids are doing, and expressing some of those things can be really powerful during this time.
I completely agree, and it reminds me of what I was told as a new mother, the happy baby, happy mummy, happy baby thing, and we forget it, don't we, as the kids grow older. So I think that's a really important reminder, and also that us being in a strange situation, that it's important for us to remind them those things that haven't changed, that we are still here for them, in the same way.
Absolutely.
And the next two tips in the top 10 focus a bit more about conversation with children. How can we help our children's anxiety in that way?
Yeah, well, I think so if we read them out, so tip number 3 is making sure your children know that you're ready to talk. And tip 4 is being truthful in answering your child or your young person's questions. I guess, again, the one with making sure that children know we're ready to talk, again, is one of those things. I think we feel like it's implicit. I'm always here. I'm always available for you. But actually, sometimes just stopping and finding a moment to say to your kids, is there anything that you're worried about or that you're anxious about during this time? I realise that it's all a little bit unsettling. And if you'd like to talk, I'm always available to you. Now, for those of you that have got teenagers, you'll be aware that the moments they want to talk are not normally the moments when you'd be most prepared to talk. I remember with my teenagers, it was usually sort of quarter to midnight, or I'm late to bed and wanting to get up early for the meeting the next morning, and they suddenly decide they want to have this moment of talking. But actually, they're often really precious times. And I think when our kids come to us and want to have a conversation, it's really important that we stop and that we listen. And I guess that's the kind of the other bit about being truthful. I think the key thing for us probably to remember right now is that our kids probably won't be as worried and as concerned all the time as we are with what's going on. I know for me at the start of this, I got into one of those unhelpful cycles of checking the news every few minutes. It probably wasn't, and almost got to that point where you think this just isn't helpful for me. Now, it's some kids may well be that anxious and checking in that much, but for many, they're not as worried as we are. And so I think what's really important is if they do have questions, that we listen really carefully to what the question is, and we try and be curious. I guess. I really like that word, curious. That you just, what is it that you're worried about? What have you heard? What have you seen? And then being honest with them about what you know to the level at which they're happy with, not necessarily sharing everything. And for some kids, that'll be enough. And for others, they might say, actually, I do want to know more. Perhaps we say, do you know what? Neither of us really know the answer to that question. Let's go look for it together. Let's make it a little mini project for today that we're going to find some of the answers to some of the questions you have. And then the advice would be go to trusted places. I mean, we all know social media is not always the best place to get your news from, but things like the BBC website or UNICEF, places like that, the government websites where what you're getting is trustworthy, and maybe just having a look at some of that together with your child or with your teen, or with your team, maybe just suggesting that they go away and then checking in a little bit later. What did you find? What do you know now? And just taking it at the level, the conversation at the level that they wanna have it.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I was thinking about the need to kind of open up that conversation when they're on their own as well. My eldest is very protective of his little sister, so super conscious of showing any anxiety in front of her. So we went for a walk this weekend to give him some space to kind of say how he was feeling without that added pressure that he feels as an older sibling. And you were also saying about listening to the question that they asked. It's really easy, isn't it, to answer the question we thought they were going to ask rather than the question they actually asked. So I think that's also a really helpful tip. And so another aspect of the current situation, I guess, is that uncertainty, which we've talked about already. And some kids might be starting to think about going back to school, others won't. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the air. There were a couple of other tips, I think 6 and 9, that I thought really helped with this. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Yeah, well, 6 is about having a family plan, and then 9 is about helping kids and teenagers to tolerate uncertainty. And I think the thing about having a family plan is actually we all do a little bit better when we've got plans in place. Routine, structure help all of us. I know helps me as an adult. All of us feel a little bit safer when the structure, and I think particularly for kids, they find structure really important. And as I said earlier on, for many of them, what's going on inside your home is the most important thing in their world right now. And so for them, they're really interested in, when is snack time? When do I get back on screens? When are we going to go and have that walk? When are we going to contact grandma? So I think having some sort of plan and structure for your day is really helpful. And obviously this week's half term. So even in half term, I think it's great to have some sort of structure, some sort of plan. Maybe sit down as a family. What are the things that we wanted to do this week? I mean, the weather's beautiful outside over this weekend, and it looks like it's going to stay like that. So maybe we want to have a picnic in the garden, or maybe we want to camp out, or maybe we don't want to camp out. We want to do something inside. We want to build a den. We want to spend some time playing games, or doing a jigsaw, playing music together, whatever it is for you and your family, and put that down as a plan. And if the kids want to, they can decorate the plan and then put it up on the wall, and then everybody knows, kind of where we're going and what we're doing. And I think the other element of that as well can be having some sort of just basic rules for the house right now. And we would always say within Triple P programs, state the rules positively. Always say what you're going to do and be positive about them. So, in this family, we always tidy our rooms before bedtime, or we always wash our hands many times a day. And I think particularly at this moment in time, I think, last week was Mental Health Week, wasn't it? And we were talking a lot about kindness. And so I think, in this family, we're kind to others, and maybe thinking about, is there something that we could all do to be kind today? Or is it that, we look for one thing that each of us has done, whether that be just helping out around the home, whether that be making a card for grandma, or whether that be, doing some shopping for one of our neighbours and leaving it at their front door because they're sort of socially isolating at the moment for various reasons. And so I think, putting things like that in place can just help everybody. Everybody knows kind of where we're going and what we're doing. And I think then when it comes to things like uncertainty, I think it's just acknowledging and it's just validating some of the uncertainty that happens right now. And I think, it's uncertain for all of us. And I think it's helpful just to listen, just to validate the way that our children, that our young people are feeling, to reflect back to them, what we can about what we are doing to keep everybody safe and to keep things, safe and fun in this family. And I guess within that, just making sure we don't overpromise, well, don't worry because it will all be okay in time for your birthday. We'll have a big celebration. I guess at this point, we don't know that. It doesn't look like we're coming out of lockdown, but just being realistic. I think the most important thing for kids is to know that we're available, and that when they ask to talk to us, that we just stop and that we listen and we're able just to spend a bit of time with them. Sometimes that's the most powerful thing.
I think that's great and really, really helpful set of tips that I think is relevant to all parents, no matter the age of their children or the current situation. So thank you so much for sharing those with us, Matt.
Thanks.
There are lots more resources on the Triple P website, including videos that go through some of these tips and others, and also a new online magazine that came out last week. So I would encourage everyone to check that out. In a time of uncertainty, we know that many children and young people will be struggling. For more personalised advice and guidance, we would encourage you to call StarLine on the number at the bottom of the screen, 0330 313 9162, or you can now contact us through our website. We have a team of over 200 specialists able to support on a range of areas, so please do get in touch. Next week on StarLive, we will be talking to Lisa Fathers from Alliance for Learning. Until then, stay safe and we look forward to seeing you then.